Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Love Experience Show. I am your host, Ashley J. I'm a relationship coach. I am a therapist. I am your host of this beautiful show that I love so much, and I hope you guys love it too. Um, I have a special guest. I think I lost her. I have a special guest, Alicia Johnson. She will be back in a moment. But I want you guys right now to like, share, and subscribe. Invite people, throw a watch party. What else? Everything you could do to share this video. I want you guys to go ahead and do it, please. Start now. Start sharing, telling people about it. Do what you got to do, okay? So we can we can reach more people with this show, okay? And also, let's see. I wanted to kind of tell you guys something real quick. I want you to know that this show is all about helping people, okay? This is not a show where we are tearing people down. This is a show where people are talking about their experiences, their various experiences with love, and we are talking about that so we can help someone who may be in the same situation. Okay. That is what the love experience is all about, helping those who need help. Okay. I needed to say that and kind of get that out the way um, for a second. Okay. So, what else? What else? Make sure you guys head over to the store on my website. It's ashleyj.com and get your gear, your show gear. Okay. You got to get the show gear. You have to get your show gear. It's nice stuff. I believe it's nice stuff. And I think that you guys will enjoy it. You'll like it. So please go ahead and get your show gear. Okay. All right. And also, if you know of anybody who could use my assistance, please send them to my website. It's ashleyj.com. And go ahead and, direct them to me so I can help them in however they need help with relationships. Okay. So here is my guest, Alicia
Whew.
Johnson.
My whole system just crashed. I
Uh
was
oh.
like, oh my god. So I'm on my phone now. So if my computer comes back up, I'll log in there. But one monkey don't stop no show. We're gonna keep moving.
Yes. So, Alicia, how do I know Alicia? Well, this is really our first time really meeting, but I know Alicia through my mother. She has a wonderful group called Always Journal 365, and my mother is a part of that group. And I've attended some of the workshops that Alicia has had, and I really liked her spirit, and I liked the story that she had to tell. So I thought she would be a perfect fit to come on to the Love Experience show and talk to you guys. Today's topic, as you saw, is called Love's Grace. Okay. So we are going to discuss that. Alicia, you want to go ahead and talk to the people?
All right, all right. So the topic is actually very
Uh oh. Did I lose you? Can you guys hear me?
accurate.
Okay, I think the connection is bad. Okay. I guess once we get Alicia back, I will go. Are you here? Okay, there you are.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
I never lost connection with you, so
Okay.
I don't know if it was your end or mine, but the topic that you chose is I guess very appropriate in light of what's going on, what they call it, Black Twitter or whatever, with Derek and his
Yeah.
whole situation and all of that. So it was very fascinating to me simply because that whole situation humbled me simply because of the grace that heaven extended to my husband and I. For those of you who don't know our story, we have our own brand of crazy, so I can't judge anybody. So their brand of crazy just looks a little bit different than mine, but everyone has their own situations that they're going through. And so with that whole grace piece is so powerful simply because God extended my husband and I so much grace, and we in turn had to extend it to each other. So not to go into the whole story, but our part of our craziness was adultery, and that was one of the things that we had to deal with. And I'm grateful that it did not have to be dealt with in public, if you will. And so that was powerful in and of itself. And if it's okay, I'm gonna switch over.
Yes, I just let you on.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, there we go. All right. I normally don't have these technical. This is the real life grace. Extend me grace, Ashley.
You got it. You got it.
Look at God giving us real life examples of what it looks like. So that was the one thing that was very just very humbling for me this week. It's just kind of watching that entire fiasco unfold in the public view. And I don't know if my husband and I had to go through something like that publicly if we would have been able to endure. But because I always believe that heaven gives you a way of escape. Heaven always gives you the opportunity to tap out and get that thing right.
Mm-hmm.
Heaven's grace, like heaven extended you grace so that we don't have to do this in public. We don't have to, do this the hard way. And so that's one of the things that I rely on heavily in our relationship now, and getting us through the hardest parts of our relationship, and so that's how I feel about that. If that kind of explains my stance on grace.
Well, that's actually kind of what I put in the description of the show. I said, relationships, we go through the highs, we also go through lows, and they take turns. Sometimes in the lows, we offend our partners, our significant others.
Right.
And love's grace is part of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't forgive somebody and not also extend grace to them. You can't do it. You have to have grace when you forgive, because if that's part of full forgiveness, and you won't move past it. You won't move past it, and you'll keep looking for that thing because you didn't extend grace. You didn't fully forgive.
Right.
So that's exactly what I put in the description. So you're on point.
And that whole forgiveness piece, that's a big one for me. Like, we've done a whole program on forgiveness, because forgiveness is just huge. And one of the things in the beginning, I thought in my arrogance that I had forgiveness under control, like, oh, you do something to me, I forgive you, I move on. You do something to me, I forgive you, I move on. And what God began to show me is that most people don't forgive. It's just leveling the playing field. And what I mean by that is, if I have said something to somebody that hurts their feelings, then I know what that feels like to do that to, I've had that experience. If someone says something to me to hurt my feelings, I can forgive them because I can kind of put myself in their shoes. Like, oh, maybe they're having a bad day, maybe whatever. And so that's just leveling the playing field. I did it to somebody and somebody did it to me. And so that's how most of us approach forgiveness, is that I can understand why you did what you did. And with my husband really, we laugh now, but we joke because we're like each other's biggest teachers. Like, you have to get into that mindset where you're either the student or the teacher. And so, sometimes I'm the student. Well, sometimes you the gum, sometimes you the shoe. So, it just depends on the position. So, my husband, he was my biggest teacher on forgiveness, because in our relationship, I had the affair first. And so because I had the affair, it was like, for him, game on, like, oh, I'm gonna get you back. Oh, you gonna pay for this. But I was already feeling bad because it was a weird situation, because the person that I had the affair with was actually a very good friend. Like, we had dated before, but then, he was married, I was married, but we were just friends, but it just went too far, right? And so, and I felt really bad because I didn't want to ruin anybody's marriage. I didn't want my marriage. It was just crazy. And so in order to, because the guilt, all of those things, a lot of times, during that situation, people are like, girl, some stuff you just need to take to the grave. You just need to just shut it up, just be quiet, And so when God was showing me like all of the things that heaven wanted to do in my life, like this community right here could not be possible. The one that I have with Always Journal could not be possible if I had not done this work, if I had not done the forgiveness work, if I had not shared. I could be Derrick Jackson. I could be that person where, oh, she talking this good game, but I know X, Y, and Z, and I couldn't have that kind of pressure. That is some crazy pressure. And so when I confessed, I told my husband, because I wanted to go to the next level and see what heaven had for me. And God was like, the only way to get to that next level is to go through this. You can't hide. You can't go around it. You can't backtrack. Like, you just got to go straight through this sucker. I was like, okay. So when I confessed to my husband, it was weird because at first, I guess because it was such a shock, like it was, if you're in a relationship, something ain't quite right. That's why I'm kind of having issues with the whole thing that's going on right now. I'm like, girl, come on now, So anyway, so a lot of these things are triggering me. So I realized I got to go back and do some more work myself. But when I told him, he was real chill about it. Like, yeah, I kind of, but see, that was the calm before the storm. That was just, so I got a little like, oh, okay. So Jesus forgave me. Mike is going to forgive me. So we're going to be able to ride this, ride out into the sunset. Like, oh no, that was not the plan at all. In Mike's mind, he's an athlete, a competitor. Okay. He's out to win. And so his whole thing was, you hit me, I'm going to hit you back harder. Like, I'm going to hit you so hard, you're not going to even know what happened. So he amped it up. So he just he had affair after affair after affair. He had, like, after I started adding up, I was like, dude, so the first one was interesting because in my mind, this is when God started teaching me about forgiveness. Okay. I was able to forgive him for the first one because I cheated, you cheated, I get it. Okay, we even now. Okay. So the second one, different female, second one, it was like, okay, I cheated, you cheated, and you cheated. But it was with somebody that I did have a history with. So maybe 2 equals 1. So in my mind, I'm trying to, Okay, so maybe that's it. Girl, after that third and fourth one, I was like, you know what? This some Fraggle Naggle bull right here, because I'm not doing this. And that's when God began to work with me on forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about you understanding. Forgiveness is about forgiving them even though you don't understand. Forgiving them even though you can't even wrap your brain around like why this. That's why like when people it used to always fascinate me, but now I get it, how people will forgive people that have harmed people in their family, people that, you know, are victims of, you know, major violence and things like that. And the people that are like, I have to forgive you. I have to forgive you. This is not even about, and how is that? I've never killed anybody. So if somebody kills someone that I know, that's, you know, that's not even leveling the playing field. That's something crazy, you know. And so that forgiveness work, it took on a different meaning for me. And that even helped me to learn how to extend even more grace. So that's, I guess that's my little forgiveness story.
It's okay. You know, I'm listening. You actually brought something up that I didn't think about. Forgiving even if you don't understand. Like that's something that we don't really think about when we forgive people. We don't think about, okay, I don't need to understand this. I need to forgive you. But we always in therapy, I'll use this example. In therapy, I work with clients who, you know, have had infidelity in their marriage. And there's a person who, you know, wants to know every little detail of what happened, why the affairs happened, and you know, they just want everything. But you know, I'm trying to explain to them, listen, you have to forgive regardless of getting that information or not. You got to forgive so you can let that go and stop holding it over your partner's life. You got to let that go. You can't, you know, if you got every little detail, that might do more harm than good. Like you really want to know everything? Like,
I mean, it's like, at what point is the information more damaging than good?
Right.
Like, it's not like you can go back. It's not like you can, and I would have to laugh at myself because things would trigger me, things would trigger him. But it's like, well, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this? And one of the things that really helped me during that time, and even now, is that when I start to focus on those things or whatever, it's like God was like, you're living too small. You're living too small. If this is all that your mind is going to, like, of all of the activities, all of the events, all of the projects and things that you have to accomplish, and you're dealing with this, you're living too small.
Yeah.
And I do not want a small life. And so that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why forgiveness is so important, because that grace and forgiveness, it keeps you malleable in the hands of God, so that God can stretch you and mold you and advance you. And you don't want to get stuck.
You don't. It's not fun being stuck in one specific place in life. Like, it's like, okay, something happens to someone in their 20s that they have never forgiven that person from doing and doing to them. And you're getting older, but you're not maturing.
Right.
Because you're still stuck there.
Right.
You're still in that 20-year-old mind. And then in your, let's say, 40s, you're wondering, okay, well, why am I not doing what I said I wanted to do 20 years ago?
Right.
Where is, you know, I don't know, whatever that hope, that goal was. Let's say, where's my big company? What's going on? I don't understand. Why am I disastrous in relationships?
Right. Right.
because you have not forgiven and you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't even realize a lot of times that they're stuck. A lot of times it's everybody else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their fault,
Mm-hmm.
but there's work that needs to be done in order for you to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And just like I told you guys before, God created love. He also created grace. And he gives us both of those things. He gives us grace, he gives us forgiveness, he gives us mercy. He does all of that. So if we are supposed to follow the blueprint of the Lord, why wouldn't you give somebody forgiveness? Why wouldn't you give somebody grace? Why wouldn't you show mercy towards someone? Why? Why
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you do it? And especially if you are, let's say, especially if you are saying you're a believer,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to practice what you preach.
Right.
I
Right.
had to I had to go through a long time forgiving people. It was stuff that I held on to for years. Things that I even forgot about but didn't realize I was holding on to it. And never understood why I couldn't hold on to friends. Never understood why, I was always so quick to get angry
Mm-hmm.
at people. It's because I never forget. And I didn't start this forgiveness work until 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't start it till 3 years ago. And now, some things happen and I shocked myself because I'm like, hold on, I'm not reacting like I did before. It
Right.
don't even bother me anymore.
Right.
So, you have to do this so you can grow.
Mm-hmm. And one of the forgiveness, like to help me to get through the forgiveness piece, one of the exercises that God had me to do, and I didn't understand it at first, but it was like just breaking down your life in 5-year increments. And
Mm,
whatever you remember, write it down, good, bad, or indifferent. So from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, all the way up to your current age. And there's certain years that I remember certain things. And I was like, if they're happy memories, then you can let those slide. Like, oh, okay, I remember that because it was fun. But it was some stuff that was just jacked up. Like, why am I even remembering that? And God was like, because you got forgiveness work around that. It was stories as simple as between 0 and 5, it was the cookie jar. My parents owned a store.
mm,
And they told me I could get I asked them if I could get a cookie, and they said no. But in my head, I heard yes. So we had the little stools that we would sit on at the cash register and stuff. So I pulled it around to the front of the counter and I climbed up there. And my parents watched me. And so now I realize as a parent, you just watching them like, I don't believe she doing this. Like that's what they were looking at. But I'm looking at it like they're giving me their approval to do it. So I take the top off and that's all I remember. Lights out. I don't remember nothing else. I don't even like sweets like that till this day. Like I made like a pound cake, but I was like, what is that? And it was from that day to this one where I realized that was where my needing approval began. From that point, I became afraid to do anything without express permission because I was afraid I was going to get in trouble.
mm,
And it just started to, just perpetuate over the years. And so with that, the whole grace piece, I had to extend myself grace for not understanding the full story and hanging on to it all the time, extending my parents grace for parenting, and in the way that they knew how. And it helped me to be a better person, and it helped me to release a lot of those holes that I had on my life. But that was something. I was like, why am I? And then I had to, when I started stringing it back to the approval, like I would have to really get expressed approval for everything. You sure I can do this? This is okay. This is good. You okay with this? You okay with this? And it was just insane. And I'm like, I'm an adult now. Why am I still waiting for someone to give me the thumbs up on things that I need to do in my own life? So yeah, that
yeah.
grace piece is real.
It is. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just, listening to you talk about that, I'm like, well, I'm thinking back, okay, what is some of the stuff that I'm holding on to? And then I talked about this a few weeks ago, but in my what came up for me was when I was younger, my parents were divorced. They got divorced. I was 2 when they got divorced. And I always had this thing in me that, I couldn't move without really without my mom's approval. Not that I don't have a good relationship with my father, it's just different.
Mm-hmm.
But I really could not move without my mom. And even at when it came to moving to Georgia and getting ready to marry my husband, up until that point, I was still like, I need my mom's approval before I do this. And I would like constantly call her, Mom, what do you think about this? Mom, is this okay? Mom, this happened. What should I do? Mom. But I'm grown enough to know what moves I need to make, but it used to drive him nuts. He's like, look, your mom does not need to be in everything we do.
Right.
You are not, that's not what we supposed, you're grown, let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, sitting back, there have been, since I've been doing the show, there have been different things that have come to my understanding that I have work in that I need to let go.
Mm-hmm.
And things that I now understand why I do what I do or why I react the way that I reacted. So
Mm-hmm.
that's true. You gotta go back and look through life and see, you know, what's holding you back. And
Right.
it can
And
be
it's not
so
just
small.
a one-time thing. Like you have to like do it like for me, because like the Bible teaches us like we shouldn't, was it like go to sleep angry? I'm paraphrasing. I read the
I
Bible.
know
Don't give me
what
the
you're talking
quote
about.
exactly. But you know that one where you shouldn't go to sleep mad. That one right there. So
Yeah.
it's like every night I do like a nighttime closing kind of routine to
Mm,
just kind of review my day, to see, like for me, I'm a reformed liar, I'm a reformed, all of the things like I have to go through. Did I lie today? Did I do this? Did I do? And if I did, I have to extend myself grace, kind of understand why I did what I did and allow myself the permission to do better the next day. And the
mhm.
reason that I do that every night is because you don't want that stuff to add up.
Right.
That's why the first pass of anything, of forgiveness, overcoming procrastination, any of those hangups that you have, that first pass, and this is why a lot of people don't make it through, is the hardest because it's like a buildup of years of
Mm,
stuff. And it's like chipping down. And if you have been a hot mess for like 30, 40 years, and now you're getting ready to tackle this unforgiveness and you getting ready to tackle this procrastination and I'm getting ready to make a clean break and make a change and all of this, you get through that first level and you realize how much more, because that's the thing. It's like when you get through that first level, all of the other stuff is going to come up.
right.
You're just breaking the surface and it's going to
Mhm,
keep rising. But
mhm.
once you really get to a place where you can see clearly, that daily maintenance is important.
It is.
So you don't have to, I will never have to deal with, a whole, how can I put it, a conglomerate or whatever of, just stuff, because I deal with it as it comes up. And that's where so many people, and that's why it's hard for people to extend grace, I think, a lot, because when you're trying to look at all of the scenarios that are all jumbled up together, you can't tell where you were extended grace or where you were not extended grace. And unless you really know what's going on, you may think you got a bad deal. Like nobody ever extended me grace in this situation. And it's like, no, you got to slow down. You got to look at it and see that grace was extended to you, either by that other person, by God, by someone you don't know. And I think that that's where a lot of people miss it, because you're trying to look at and to digest too much of the picture at one time.
That's true. And I was listening to a video before I came on here,
Mm-hmm.
and what you're talking about every night going through your mind and, you know, seeing if you did whatever. The guy that I was listening to, he was saying do the same thing. He called it brainwashing.
Oh,
And
wow. Like, okay, yeah, watch
he
it.
was saying, he was saying, you know, when we hear brainwashing, we think of the negative.
Mm-hmm.
But in this instance, he said, you know, think about brainwashing as getting the negative out of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you're saying, that's what reminds me of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I need to start brainwashing at night. I don't really, I'll think about maybe something that I felt was major and say, okay, I need to, okay, Lord, forgive me for that. And but I won't think about all the other little things that happen throughout the day. And I don't think about extending grace to myself when it comes to those small things that happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's huge. And that's one of the things that really helped me. When you start to focus on yourself and being self-centered, it really helps you with all your other relationships, because you realize that people are not really paying as much attention to you as you really thought they were. Like, they doing their own stuff. Like, they trying to figure out. And a lot of that, before I started to do this work on myself, I was always, well, what she got to say about, you know, what she say about me? Well, what was, you know, well, what they say, what they, child, they ain't even worried about you, for real.
Not
They
one
are
bit.
not concerned.
I was doing the same thing.
A legend, you just a legend in your own mind. Like, you actually think that you're greater than you are. And it's like, now I'm excited, because the more that I become in tune with the truth of who God has created me to be, the more it magnetizes me. And what I mean by that is that I no longer have to wonder if I am doing the things that God wants me to do by seeking other people's validation. By doing the inner work and by doing the work that God has given me to do, I'm charging the atmosphere and people are drawn to me. And so that's an indicator that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Asking, it is given. Seeking, you shall find. Knocking, the door will be open. If someone out there is asking a question and God gives them you as the answer, then you like, okay, God, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yes.
If someone out there is seeking something and God sends them to you to find, then you like, okay. It's like, it's so, I mean, when you start to think, like, the work is so much less. Like, you really don't have to, there's less forgiveness involved, because you're not as angry all the time, because you're not putting yourself out there in a way to be criticized.
Right.
It's like, you came to me. You found me.
Yes. Yes.
So it's like, it's really a game changer. And that's why I really love, like, extending grace and extending forgiveness, because I see the power in it. And when God began to show me this, it's like, on earth as it is in heaven, for everything in the natural, there's a parallel and corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. And one day I was out and God was like, look at the grass, look at the trees, look at everything in nature, okay? God was like, this is your lesson in forgiveness. This is your lesson in grace. And I was like, okay. So, I mean, I didn't even go any further than, like, my neighborhood. I'm walking and God's like, your husband cuts the grass every week. The grass don't get mad, be like, oh, this some bull right here. I ain't growing back no more because he ain't gonna do nothing but come back next week and cut me again. What happens? It's gonna grow back fuller and stronger.
Yeah.
Trees, they've been around for hundreds of years. They bend in the wind and all of that. And God was like, that's my grace. That's my forgiveness. And what God was showing me is that the closer you are to nature, the closer you are to source, the more forgiving you can be. When you are moving further away from nature, if you will, things that are harder and more rigid, like this wall behind me, if I punch the wall, I would hurt my hand more than I would hurt the wall, because this wall is meant as a barrier of protection. It's a divider. It's separating rooms. It's serving a purpose. It's meant to be rigid. It's not meant to move. And God was like, forgiveness, things are forgiving because they are meant to accommodate your growth. They're meant to accommodate your healing. They're meant to accommodate those things. And like, for example, your body, how many times have you eaten? So I know in college, how many times have you prayed to that porcelain God? You be like, God, if you help me feel better after this, I ain't gonna never, ever, ever, ever do this again until next weekend, right? And so you like, but your body loved you and is so forgiving that it is helping you to expel all of that poison you put in your body. It's helping you to return back to some degree of health and wholeness, because that's what forgiveness is about. Now, if you keep doing that and not accepting the grace and not accepting the forgiveness, this is where you have people that come up with like cirrhosis of the liver, like the hardening of these things, with like the hardening of arteries, the hardening, you know, how things in your body will just stiffen up. And God was like, that is a sign of not accepting grace and forgiveness.
Yes, it will manifest itself physically. I am somebody who has had unforgiveness manifest itself through my health. You know, I 2016, before I got married, I got sick. And while I was sick, you know, I had depression and everything, but God started talking to me and was informing me that this is because there's things inside of me that needs to be broken up and I need to let go. And with fibromyalgia, the number one factor that makes you have a flare up is stress. And when you are holding on to unforgiveness, you're putting stress on your body. You are doing damage to your body. You hear people say, oh, that person may have died from a broken heart. Well, that's because they didn't forgive. They did not forgive the wrong that was done to them. Or they may not have even forgiven themselves for the thing that they did to somebody else.
Right.
All of that plays a part in your health. And, you know, we don't correlate the two a lot of times, but you have to, because what goes on up here is going to travel down to your toes. And, you know, if you don't get rid of it, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect you some type of way. So, yeah.
I know, like, that whole spirit, mind, body piece is so real. This was back in probably 2009, 2010 or whatever. And this is when I really just like first started my spiritual journey. Like, God, I want to know everything. Like, just, you know, I'm just stop me when I go too far. So I wanted to get some energy work done, like Reiki. And I went, and before I left, I was like, because I was raised Catholic. I've been sprinkled, dunked, everything. I've been baptized like 3, 4, 5 times, just in case it didn't stick. I was like, just, you know,
sprinkled and dunked.
Girl, I got it all right. And so I went And I was like, okay, God, because you know, like some things, like being raised Catholic and things like that, it's like you don't look to astrology, you don't look to this, you don't look. And I was just like, and God was like, no, go get this done. And I was like, oh, okay. But before I left, this was my prayer. I said, well, God, I used to be so creative. Like, I want to get that back. I want to get that, you know, like that was just a prayer that came up. So I went to go see this lady. She was a Reiki master. And I'm sitting there and I don't want to tell her too much because I wanted to see how good she was. So I just basically put my name on the form. That was it.
Okay.
And so she's like, and this is when I became a believer. I was like, it's something like you can't make this stuff up. So I'm laying on her table, and Reiki, if you know anything about it, it's like non-touch. It's just they feel your move your energy around and everything. So it was like an hour-long session. And that day I had a headache. I had a sinus headache. And she kept working around my head. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then she started working in my abdomen area. I was like, okay. And so at the end of it, I was like, whatever. You know, she was doing her thing. Then at the end, she gave me some water. And she said, I'll be back in a minute, you know, once you're dressed and all of that. So, okay. And so she comes back and she says, okay, so these are my findings. I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there and she says, you have a headache? And I was like, yeah, I've had one for like 2 or 3 days. The weather, I'm a human barometer. So when the weather changes, my head. So she was like, yeah, because she said, you should be feeling a little bit better. I tried to move some of the energy or whatever she was doing. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. This is the fascinating part. She said, but I have to tell you, she said, because she was in my, whatever chakra this is, the soul, oh, I forgot the root chakra, the root chakra and the stomach, whatever the abdomen is. And so she was like, you have to increase your creativity. I was like, what? You remember the prayer I said I prayed before I left the house? I was like, what? She said, you have to increase your creativity and you got to like release whatever you're holding on to, because if not, you're going to develop fibroids.
Oh, wow.
I was like, girl, please. Because I'm one of those in and out people. I go to the doctor. I go in once a year, get what I, you know, clean bill of health, whatever. Let me go. So it was just 2009. So 2010, 2011. So things started popping off with my marriage and all of that stuff. And I just got further and further away from my creativity. Okay. So each year I go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, you're boring. You know, you just kind of say, good, let's keep it that way. Right. But in like everything for in our relationship, like really came to a head in like 2014. And in 2014, I went back to the doctor. Right. And so I'm on the table and I felt something, but I wasn't sure. I was like, it was weird, right? I was like, it's something, but I don't even know what it is. So my doctor, I had my exam. She's like, what's going on? I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, she scared me at first. So she was feeling that. She was like, I think you have fibroids. I was like, what? They just popped up. And she scared me because she was like, I've never seen them grow so fast. Like it was just, you know, they were just really big. And I'm hearing her, but I'm really hearing the lady that I went to. Like, I was like, oh, this is some Fraggle Naggle bull. Like I believed it, but I didn't believe it until it started to manifest in my own body. And that was it was almost surreal because that helped me to understand how much my emotions or my lack of control of my emotions was harming me. And that was a game changer. I was like, no more. And it's like, once you learn how to extend yourself that forgiveness and that grace and that mercy, it's like everything starts to shift and change. So I don't know, maybe that'll help somebody. But if somebody tells you you're going to develop something, so fibroids, y'all pay attention to that. Do what you gotta do, because that was crazy for me. That was crazy. And I'm still to this day dealing with, and that's the one thing that you have to understand, creating the scenario and healing the scenario is just as much work.
It is.
Because it's not like once you say, okay, I forgive myself, that thing is going to go away. You got to realize that thing has roots. And everything on this earth has a right to exist.
It does.
And that's where a lot of people get messed up, because people are like, well, what about this? What about that? It's like life works. It's like geometry, if then statement. If all of these conditions are met, then this illness can exist.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. And so you gotta rework it. You gotta release it, and you have to like thank it for serving you. Thank it. Like you got to extend grace and mercy and forgiveness to that situation that you allowed into your life.
Yeah.
Because it was serving you at some point.
It was.
And now you can't get angry with it, because it's like, okay, thank you for serving me. I don't really need you. And the fibroids, I don't need you anymore. You
can go. Y'all need to burst or something. Go on about your business.
It's time for you to go find a new home somewhere else, because you're not welcome here no more.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I have a tendency. I hope I stayed on topic for you, Ashley.
Yeah. We're good. Good. We are good.
I love it.
Well, now we are going to take the questions and comments. Guys, if you have anything that you would like to ask, or anything you would like to say, go ahead and get it in the chats now so that we can address them. Okay. So let's see. On YouTube, we have hello, Aunt Linda. Hi, Miss Alfreda. My mother said hello. Let's see. My uncle, he said when you talk the talk, you have to walk the walk, especially as a public figure. He said he was talking about Derrick Jackson.
Amen.
Let's see. One of my aunts said, is it possible to completely forgive a person and move on? I think it's possible. I believe it's possible to forgive somebody and just move on with life, because you can't stay there.
Yeah. And don't forget the lesson. Like, move on, but carry the gift that came with that.
Yes.
Like for me, every encounter is a holy encounter. So you're either teaching me how to do something or how not to do something.
Yes. So that's actually something that I teach my clients. You know, when every situation that you get in that's an unfavorable situation, don't take it as a failure, take it as a lesson. There's something in that situation that you can use to make yourself better in the next situation, or just make you grow right now. So yes, you can. My uncle said, I thought I was the only one that did the 5-year increments.
Oh, good. So he understands that. Yeah.
Let's see. We have quite a bit more. Miss Alfreda was saying something that you said was good. She said, that's good, AJ. You speaking the truth. My mother said, Grace, God rules above circumstances every day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's good.
And she said, when you don't forgive it, like when you don't forgive it, like Russian roulette, it's like Russian roulette in your body. It is. Okay, let's see what these comments there's a lot of comments on Facebook, and I don't even know if I'll be able to see all of the comments on Facebook.
Oh, okay. We all over the place, huh?
Yeah, we're on Facebook and YouTube.
We got company. Okay, all
right. So, let's see. Brainwashing. Raz was saying brainwashing. What she said. I don't see all the comments, y'all. I'm sorry if I missed your comment. I don't see all of them on Facebook. Brainwashing gets rid of clutter. Hashtag review and brainwashing. Simply make intentional love encounters, starting with self. Ask, seek, knock. Enjoy and have fun with the process. extend grace and forgiveness. These are all Rise, Night in Warfield, just so you.
Oh, right. Okay, I thought when you said the simply make intention, I was like, that's Roz. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's funny.
On earth as it is in heaven, for everything in the natural, there is a parallel and a corresponding occurrence in the supernatural. Relational currency with the porcelain fixture. That was funny, but true. Fibromyalgia is fed by stress. Demand the power of peace. Yes, that's what I have to do. Um, Spirit, mind, and body. Hashtag sprinkled and dunked. Prayer of creativity. Hello, Darlene. Let's see. She said we were created by the creator. Fraganeckle Bull can't make this stuff up. Shift and change. It's work to heal and work to create. Everything on earth has a right to exist. This was an awesome show. Thanks. You're welcome. Yancine, you're welcome for and I thank you for saying this was an awesome show. Darlene said this is such good information. Uh I'm Rise again. Every encounter is a holy encounter. Don't rely on failure or don't rely on failure. No, it's a lesson. Ask AJ, review is night, but what is morning?
Oh, in the morning, well, we do in our community the prayer, meditation, and time with God, and so that's one of the things that once you really learn how to rebalance your life, it's 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man. And so in the morning, that's where you set the tone for your day and you get your instructions. And so if you're extending yourself that grace and that forgiveness, you're going to allow yourself that time to spend with God, to do your nightly release work, to honor the 12 hours for God and 12 hours for man, so that you can be better, in all of your relationships. And so it cuts down a lot on that forgiveness work. Because if you're working with yourself so much, you're not going to be offended as much. I mean, you're not going to cuss your own self out. Like, you're not going to be like, you have more grace. You be like, girl, I understand. Just go, But it's like when you're not working with other people and it's just you and God, who you going to argue with?
Right.
Argue with.
And Coach Glenn, he popped in. Hey, Coach. He said he just wanted to stop through to show some love.
I love it. I love it.
There was one more question on YouTube that I skipped. How do you become unstuck?
How do you become unstuck?
Yes.
One situation at a time. Like, you have to I would need to know like exactly what area you're stuck in, but one of the things that a rule of thumb that I use is give God equal time. So if you've been stuck in an area and like for 2 years, and give God 2 years to get you out. So, and that the only reason I say that is so that you don't give up too soon.
Yeah.
So if you're expecting to get unstuck in 2 weeks, and you've been in it for 2 years, then you're not giving yourself a fighting chance. And so to get unstuck, the first rule, if you want to rule, is to just give heaven equal time.
Yes. And I'll add, to get unstuck, you have to acknowledge that you're stuck.
Amen. Yeah,
you have to acknowledge that. And once you acknowledge that you're stuck, then you begin to do the work to get loose. And you have to like Alicia said, you have to address it one situation at a time. And once you address it one situation at a time, then you make the move to pivot out of that situation and never go back to that situation again. Forgive yourself for being stuck and extend grace to yourself so that you won't hold on to this any longer.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yes, ma'am. love it.
Okay. Let's see. We got AJ suggests give God equal time. Excavation work, dig deep to know thyself, and rule of thumb, give heaven equal time. Yes, thank you, Aunt Ross, for the recap. So if you guys have any other questions before we close out? Anything else that you would like to say? Now is the time to speak your piece, and I'm going to give you a couple minutes. And I want to thank Alicia for joining me today. I really, really, really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed our conversation.
I enjoyed this too.
And
sorry about the technical difficulties in the beginning, but I pray I made up for it.
you did, and it is no problem. What else, guys? Like I said to you in the beginning of the show, please make sure you share, you like the video, and you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Share this with your friends, family, whoever. Just share it, okay? Because this was good information, and I believe we helped a lot of people. I hope we helped a lot of people. Also, I want to let you guys know, registration is still open until April 12th to register for the Couples Getaway, the All In for Love Couples Getaway. So please go register. It's couples only. I'll do something for singles probably next year, but please go register for that weekend. It's going to be a blast. You will not be disappointed. And make sure you go to my website is ashleyj.com and purchase the Love Experience show gear, okay? Because it's all there waiting for you. Alicia, you have any closing remarks, and you want to tell everybody about AJ365?
Closing remarks, I just enjoy the process. that's my catchphrase, to enjoy the process. And our community is always Journal 365. You can just search us on Facebook, and just you can join us there, and we'll just fill you in when you get to the other side. So, but I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for the platform. This is a very powerful platform, and with nice, healthy discussion. So the world needs more of this. So I thank you for this.
Thank you. All right, guys. So if you don't have anything else, I'm going to close out. And I have one question for you. What is your love experience? I'll see you guys next week. Okay, we're done. Thank you so much, Alicia.
Oh, thank you. This is great. I love this. Okay, I gotta go subscribe on YouTube. And you just all over the place.
I try. I like to ask my guests after we're finished if they have any feedback for me, anything, that suggestions or anything. I'm open.
Mm-hmm. Do you have no, I love the platform. I think that